Hello everyone and welcome! I am Kiv, and today I wanted to share with you all 5 crazy, awesome details that are in Warhammer 40k Darktide that you may not have realized when you played the game. And let me be clear about this. I don't want to be your typical sort of IGN GameSpot reviewer that says, wow, the gun with 5 bullets actually has 5 bullets in it? Wow, that's a crazy detail. No, I don't want to do any of that surface level crap. I wanted to actually take my time and find a whole bunch of stuff in this game that you just simply would not realize after only a limited time playing it. I wanted to spend some time actually just ripping into the game, but please remember that I am still learning some parts of the Warhammer universe, so while I will do my best to entertain you and give you something that's interesting, I may not get every dot point of my explanation completely correct, so please be patient with me. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. To start off with, the statues that you'll notice in the game are surprisingly lore accurate. And I know what you may be thinking, Kiv, have you been sniffing some chemicals with long names? Well, no, because what you'll actually realize is that there are various different kinds of statues in the game. In almost every level, there will be a series of normal Imperial statues. These are just very general, and I guess in some sense it is there just to work as sort of a inspiration mixed with a sense of authority and power for the Imperium of mankind. And that's what you'll see throughout almost every level. However, on the specific mission in Clavum Barros, I hope I said that properly, you will be going up in Throneside area, and it is essentially middle to higher class society. On this specific map, you'll notice that there are actual statues of Space Marines, which is very different from what we see in other areas of the Hive City. The reason why this is lore accurate is because when you become a Space Marine, it is a high honor, and you will actually be recognized for that for generations to come in the form of a statue. So I think that's a really cool detail, and definitely a sign that people care about what they're putting into the background in these games. But moving on to number 2, the actual map layouts of various missions will change in small ways. Now, I don't very simply mean that you'll come across the same area on a different mission. I mean that the exact same mission will sometimes have a small layout change, and you'll notice that some passages or some gates will be open and available for you to flank around the enemy on some missions, but on others they'll be closed and you'll be forced to go right smack bang down the middle, charging headfirst, screaming, "For the Emperor!" Our third detail is that the chain axe and chain sword will have different colored fumes depending on the environment that you're in when you actually rev the weapon. So if you're in an environment where there is a lot of light, you will actually notice the fumes are very light in color, but if you're in a dark environment, they will be very black. I actually don't know if this is from design or if this is just something that is a side effect of some better graphics and they've just created systems that will impact what you see depending on how much light is exposed to it. So I don't know if this is honestly intentional, but I think it's a very cool added detail. Another thing that you may not have noticed is that the enemies that you verse actually react differently to the Flamethrower weapon. So your soldiers, the Mobian Sixth, the Scab enemies, the Traitor Guardsmen that you verse in the game, they will actually not be impacted by your flamethrower very much. They won't actually be flinching around as much when they are exposed to it because they are soldiers. They've been through a lot worse most of the time. But the civilians, the poxwalkers, the simply corrupted everyday humans, they are still actually going to sometimes be afraid of the flamethrower. So if you actually use the flamethrower not on them, but around them, they will actually be afraid and almost kind of cower in fear when you have the flames launching around them, which I think is a great detail and just shows the difference between a veteran soldier and an everyday civilian, even if they have been corrupted by a chaos god. My final detail is that the enemies that you verse will actually have different reactions when you kill them depending on what weapon you are using. Now, I don't very simply mean that if you hit them with a hammer, they're going to hit the floor a lot harder. That's that is not what I'm trying to say. What I mean is that if you are using a clean cutting weapon, you'll only notice a small amount of blood, but not really much flesh. But if you use a chain axe or a chain sword, you'll actually notice that there will be a lot more ripping, tearing, and a lot more substance when you kill an enemy. There's an added detail that if there are enemies that are quite heavily plagued by Nurgle, you will actually notice a lot more maggots and green blood coming from these enemies than a poxwalker that's just less corrupted, which I think is a great detail. So there you have it, everyone. That is 5 awesome details that you may not have realized were in the game. And that's pretty much about it for the video. If you did enjoy it and you want to see more content from me, then you know what to do. But that is just about it for the video. I have been Kiv, and I will see you all on the next one.